Hey, what's going on everybody? Chris Anthony back in my RC station again here today. I hope everybody's doing well. Check this out guys, we have some super cool exciting stuff on the bench here that I'm really excited to share with you guys. We got some Capras on the bench here. This is a 110 scale and a 118 scale Capra, aka Baby Capra, I think that's what everybody's calling it. And Radiolink sent me two of these R8FG receivers. I believe these are the newer receiver that they have came out in the market. This is an 8-channel receiver, which I already used one of them on my Capra over here. I believe this is the same receiver that comes on their premium Radiolink RC6GS out there. I pretty much achieved everything that I wanted to do in terms of my setup with this truck right here with this receiver. So we're gonna take a look at this in just a little bit. Alright guys, so let's talk about the Capras that I have on the bench here and give you a quick rundown of my setup and also kind of talk about some of the upgrades that I have on this vehicle. But before I do that, I just want to give you guys a quick backstory of how I end up with these vehicles here, these crawlers on the bench, and how and why I decided to kind of venture out into crawling and try out crawling and stuff. So basically my uncle is into crawling for quite some time now. Well, I think he's been into crawling for quite a long time, and my son Nicholas wanted to try it out as well. I think he is fascinated by the smoothness and the slow and controlled of how this vehicle drive and stuff. But what really got me over the hump and really try crawling is when I found out that Key City Hobby is actually 20-25 minutes away from me. And this place is just amazing. If you're into crawling and you live in DMV, you probably already know this place. If not, you have to check out this place. I mean, this place is not only a hobby shop, but they are known for their competition indoor crawling course. This is basically a crawling heaven. There was actually a competition when we visited that place, and it was just a lot of fun watching these guys driving their cars and stuff like that. So again, that's what pretty much got me over the hump and really try out crawling and stuff like that. And I just realized that this would be a perfect opportunity for me to try out crawling on the winter season, because my bashing tends to slow down on the winter season because of the weather. The weather drops and it's just way too cold to bash. So yeah, I'm gonna be trying out crawling, and so it should be a lot of fun. All right, so let's start with this little guy over here and kind of show you what I've done to it. This is again a 118 scale mini Capra or baby Capra, I think that's what everybody's calling it. All right, so upgrades. Some of the upgrades that I've done to this little guy here, I decided to upgrade the front steering links. That's because the stock plastic that comes with the truck was kind of flexing a little bit, especially when Nicholas start going a little hard on this guy right here. And secondly, I have tires and wheels combo over here. This is a 4.1 inches tires mounted on the 1.9 bidlock wheels. As you can see, looks pretty cool. These tires are actually quite big compared to the stock ones that comes with the truck, but I actually prefer this size just to give it a little bit more ground clearance and to make it a little bit easier to go over the rock piles and stuff like that, just to make it a little bit easier. The other thing that I did to this truck is I decided to stretch the wheelbase, so it's sitting a little bit longer now. It's sitting about 10 inches long, and I think it's perfect for this bigger tires right here. So yeah, I really like the setup that I have on this little guy here right now. So actually Nicholas hasn't driven this after all the changes that I did to it, so I'm looking forward to getting this thing out with them. All right, let's take a look at my 110 scale Capra over here. I apologize if it's looking a little bit dirty. That's because I actually took it out for a quick spin out there. My original plan was to actually go out and bash, but it's still pretty cold and windy, so I decided to take it out and did a little bit of crawling out there. And I gotta say guys, this thing has been a lot of fun. I have been enjoying this truck quite a bit here lately. I have been tinkering and doing a little bit of work on it ever since I got it, and throw in a couple of upgrades as well. So let me run through my setup here and also share with you guys how I was able to achieve all the things that I wanted to do in terms of my setup on my Capra here using this Radiolink R8FG receiver. So first upgrade that I did is this tires and wheels combo. This is a 5.3 overall diameter tires mounted on the Vidabon 2.2 bidlock wheel. I just want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Arthur for all the upgrades that I'm running on here. I'm really digging the design of these wheels right here. Looks pretty awesome. So the other thing that I did is I went ahead and upgraded my front portal axle here. I took out the stock plastic and put it in the back for a 4-wheel steering setup. So I decided to put the metal on the front, just to keep this a little bit front heavy, a little bit of weight bias in the front, so that way it stays planted and it doesn't tip over quite easily when you're climbing. So that's the reason why I decided to put the metal on the front end. So the other thing that I did is I went ahead and stretched and lengthened the wheelbase of this truck. Pretty much the same thing I did to this little guy right here. I stretched it out. I believe the stock wheelbase is 12.5 inches. Now it's sitting at 10.2 inches wheelbase, so it's stretched out quite a bit, as you can see. In my opinion, I think the Capra looks a lot better stretched out and running bigger wheels, so I really like this configuration, to be honest with you. And I stretched it out using these high clearance links, as you can see right there. It's also looking a lot dirty down there from my run earlier. The other thing I did is I lowered the ride height of the truck. So pretty much what I did is that I took out the spring perch of the shock here and just kind of let the spring sit there at the bottom on the rod ends. So that pretty much lowered the truck significantly. But having a bigger tires, I actually gain a little bit more ground clearance there while the cage is sitting quite low. So so I really like this configuration a lot. Let's take a look at the back end of the truck here. Here is my rear steering setup. As you can see, servo right there. This will allow me to independently control the rear steering of the car. You can do crab walk, and of course four-wheel steering for some tight cornering and maneuvering and things like that. So I am new to this kind of setup. I mean, I am new to the crawling scenes in general, but I am learning quite a lot. So far it's been a lot of fun, you know, learning the ins and outs of this setup right here. One thing about crawler trucks that I realized is that it really requires you to have a multi-channel radio and receiver, especially with the setup that I have here on this Capra, having a rear steering in the back. And I almost forgot that this truck actually comes with a dig function feature that will allow you to lock the rear differential and turn this into a front wheel drive, and pretty much allow you to drag the back end of the car. That will allow you to have some nice turning and also enable you to have that slow controlled descent downhill and things like that. So that's another awesome feature of the truck that you can utilize out there and use that to your advantage in certain situations. So again, with all this function, it really requires you to have a multi-channel radio and receiver, and that is where this Radiolink R8FG receiver comes to play. This is an 8-channel receiver and really helped me achieve all the things that I wanted to do in terms of the function and setup that I have here on this Capra. So let me run through my setup here and kind of show you guys some of the functions that I was able to do utilizing this 8-channel radio that I have in the car. Alright, so I have the RC6GS version 3 here. This is a 7-channel radio, which is perfect for all the setup that I have in this Capra. So the first thing I want to point out is the telemetry function. I am able to monitor the remaining voltage of the lipo that I have in the car straight into the screen of the radio right here. And if you look at the very top right of the radio, you can also monitor the remaining voltage of the lipo that's powering this radio right here, which pretty awesome and pretty crucial feature, if you ask me, to be able to monitor your lipo so that way they don't drain out beyond its limit. The other thing I want to point out is that you can actually set an alarm for the radio to give you a prompt sound notification to let you know when your battery is hitting LVC or low voltage cutoff, which again, another awesome feature to kind of help you keep an eye on your batteries. That is pretty cool if you ask me. Alright, so having a multi-channel radio and receiver, I was able to achieve a bunch of things in this setup here. So channel 1 obviously is your normal front steering, as you can see right there, and then your channel 2 would be obviously your throttle right there, and channel 3 is where I hooked up the other servo for my rear steering setup and assigned it to this knob right here, so I can independently control the rear steering of the truck and also set the amount of steering that I want, as you can see right there. And with the rear steering setup, you can do things like crab walk. As you can see, you got the crab walk. So there you go. Of course, you can do your four-wheel steering as well. And I was able to assign that to this switch right here. And by flicking that switch, I'm able to do my four-wheel steering. And clicking that back, now we're back to normal front wheel steering. So it's pretty cool to have that function. As you can see, it is pretty wild and cool at the same time to have. That's pretty awesome, as you can see. And let's see if I can climb this wall over here. It might be too slippery. There you go. That's pretty crazy. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that this car right here has a dig feature function. So it has a micro servo inside for you to be able to do that function. And I was able to hook that up into one of the channel of that receiver and assign it to the switch right here, which is conveniently located on the handle of the radio. And by pushing that button, as you can hear, I don't know if you hear that, but that pretty much activated the dig function. Now you're able to lock the rear differential and drag the back end of the car, as you can see. So now you can do some maneuvering out there. So as you can see, and by pressing that again, that will disengage it, as you can see. But since I have a four-wheel steering set up in this car that will allow me to do some tight turning, some tight maneuvering, I only been using that dig function for going downhill, lock the differential, and drag the back end of the car for that slow and controlled descent. So again, different functions and different situations that you can utilize those features. So it's pretty awesome. So the last function I wanted to show that I'm able to do utilizing that multi-channel receiver is that it allows me to independently and manually control the lights of the car. So I have some headlights here and also some light bar on top of the car. So I was able to hook that up into one of the channels on that receiver and assigned it to one of the switch over here, which is conveniently located right there on the handle of the radio. I don't know if you can see that. So by pressing that button, it allows me to turn on the headlights, and press that one more time, it turns on the light bar. I may have to change my light bar here because none of them are working, but by pressing that one more time, that turns on the headlights and the light bar together. And by pressing that again, you get that pulse flicker feature going on, as you can see. And I'm pressing it one more time, you get that rapid flicker action going on, as you can see. And then one more time, that turns off your lights, as you can see. So it's got that cycle and different function that you can do with your lights, which is pretty cool. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the functions that I was able to do utilizing that multi-channel receiver and radio combo, which is pretty cool. I really like the configuration that I was able to achieve. I just want to point out that this is a waterproof receiver from what I hear from Radiolink. If you're wondering, which is a pretty cool feature, if you do decide to submerge your car in water, if you want to crawl through waters and things like that. So that's a pretty cool feature. So I just want to give a big shout out to Radiolink for sending this out. I really appreciate that. And also big shout out to Ovonic battery for sending out this 5300 milliamp 120C6S lipo that I'm going to be trying out pretty soon. And lastly, I just want to give a big thank you and shout out to Atahabi for sending out this Dumbo RC X4. This is a 4-channel radio. I'm going to be trying this out on one of my car pretty soon. I just gotta figure out which car I'm gonna hook this up to. Alright guys, so that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.